Okay, YouTube, I'm going to tell you a little story about this little 78 here. 78 Chevy Malibu. Found it in Dickinson, North Dakota in 1988. 10-year-old car. I was a bag boy at a grocery store. There were 2 maroon Malibus in Dickinson at that time. And I asked both of the owners if I could buy their cars when I carried out the groceries. Kind of cool. Got to see a lot of neat cars that way. Anyhow, this couple that had, I think, 3 kids at the time decided that it was time to sell and get, they actually upgraded to a Bonneville. Size-wise, upgraded. You know, this has got way more class than anything out there. But so, in '88, I purchased this car stock. Had the 14-inch rallies on it, which I sold. Had 305 2-barrel power. Had this paint job on it, just a little thicker than it is now. It had stock interior. This was obviously a bench seat car. It's not anything flashy. It was a bench seat car. It was a non-tilt. It has cruise, 3-speed. It had a 200 metric in it. That got yanked out, and it's had a 350 trans in it ever since. It's on its 3rd one, though, or 3rd rebuild. AM/FM radio, column shifter, single speaker in the dash, maroon. The bench seat obviously used to match the back seat. It was a 50-50 split, so it went, everything went forward, everything went back. It's original carpet, original panels. I put different carpet on the bottom of the panels somewhere in time. Found these Paseo floor mats when I worked at Chrysler Center in Minot. That seemed to fit, and they were throwing them out, so I tossed them in there, gray and maroon. It's not such a bad combo. Got the big, mighty Sun Super Tack 2. That's been on both columns that have been in this car. The other column obviously had the shifter. This one doesn't. Is this the 2nd or 3rd? It's at least the 2nd column. But I've redone the headliner. Put a single din in. No parts were cut for that process. I upgraded to the newer style of plate, of bezel, which had the single din. I built a framework for it, so it's all pretty slick. I've got some videos of that, I think. Took the ashtray out since I don't smoke. Threw some little triples down there because in '78 we just didn't care. We had idiot lights, which maybe I should go back to that because that's how I feel most days. But so we got fuel and speed, and then optional down there. And those are electric gauges. I had mechanicals for quite a while, but I kind of wanted to clean things up a little bit. It's okay. We've got, let's see here. We're going to pop the hood, take a look at that. So again, future plans for the interior. Oh, that's a star shifter with the ratchet action, which is pretty nice to have. I got that steering wheel out of Canada. I believe it came out of Amani. This guy had tons of G-body parts up there. These seats are out of a Chevette. They're the only bucket seats I could find at the time when I went from bench to buckets because of the floor shifter, and they are blue with cheap Kmart seat covers on. Can you say Kmart anymore? Are they bankrupt? Well, historically they were purchased at Kmart. I do have a set of gray powered Grand Prix seats, not G-body Grand Prix, front wheel drive Grand Prix seats. I'd like to get those put in. I need weld some perches, take the entire interior out. You know, if you've been there, you know the drill. This doesn't have the bucket seat purchase, so I'd need to build those. I know you can do rods, or you can do standoffs and plates and washers and weld underneath. That's kind of what I have now. I've got square aluminum tubing with washers underneath and bolts going through. I'd rather not have anything out the bottom. Just weld perches to the floor for the seat to go on. So might be a winter project, maybe more of a summer project. I need a little bit more room. Right now I got a lot of room because I'm working on a different project for my wife, but that means her Subaru is out in the cold. So, because it is getting cold up here in North Dakota. So, there's my new stickers that I have for the Tony's Restoration Customs, where some of this comes around circle. In high school, this was my car. I was the car guy, I guess. That was when we lived in Dickinson, and my grandpa's shop was, Grandpa Tony, his shop was a half hour up the road. So if I needed something done, like the 305 that came in here rebuilt, that's where I took it. And that's where I got my work done. That's where I spent a couple weeks in the summer here and there, in addition to going to other relatives until life takes over, and then you stay home and just work. So a little bit of history about under here. Pretty much all of this is stock. I haven't touched much. Stock air, stock alternator. This is the third engine. It had the original 305, and then that 305 was rebuilt, and then it went to 350. That was a junkyard build. It had too high RPM of a cam for my 229 gears, so I got rid of that. This was supposed to be a 350, and it came out of the vehicle as a 305, so I decided to just make some lemons, or lemonade out of that lemon, and put a Torquey cam in it. I've got a Edelbrock intake on it with Quadrajet that I've rebuilt 2 or 3 times. I think it's finally kind of dialed in. It was a Jags rebuilt Quadrajet, but in tearing it apart and using some of the, let's see, I did the Ruggles book, how to rebuild. I've got a couple Rochester books there. Got the Ruggles book. That one really helped me out, and online resources through him. Got it rebuilt, found some things that were defective in the carb, got those fixed. So anyhow, stock brakes underneath the hood and underneath the car. Boy, you know, it was a V8 car, so I really didn't have to do much in swapping all these around. I had some heating issues, overheating issues, so it is a newer radiator. The all metal is gone, and now I got plastic. But you know, when you're hunting down a problem, you kind of try a bunch of stuff, especially when it's overheating and you'd like to drive the car. But so future plans underneath here, of course, 383 would be beautiful. I've got it set up for headers. I don't know that I'll do an LS swap on this because I already have the headers and everything set up for a Gen 1. Never say never. I'm building several C10 trucks. I think slash and positive one of those is going to be a LS car or a LS truck. I could see doing the Sniper on this, kind of a stealthy setup. I'd want to make it look completely carbureted. I've read on some forums. I've also sent some messages to Holly. I mean, I'd like to get a pass-through fuel pump that's blocked off to the engine, so you don't have to worry about pumping gas into the oil, where you could feed that high-pressure fuel from the tank up through a stock-looking fuel line to the Sniper unit and put an air cleaner on it, and who knows what you got. Yeah, you can kind of see I tried, anything I did add, I tried to kind of make it a little bit stealthy. You know, that's for the sub in the trunk, kind of tucked behind the coolant tank. You know, the filter's down there. I took it out of the carb just to kind of hide it away a little bit. I would probably, if I wasn't in a hurry, I would have painted that Holly fuel pump a color, even if it was just the silver that I used for the intake, and that is painted. Painted and cleared, just because of all the gas. Engine's black, everything else is black. Transmission's black. Like I said, factory brakes, factory front suspension. I did put some different shocks on this last year, so it helped a little bit. These Kragers I bought in high school, probably about, well, let's say 88, 89, 14 inchers. They serve me well. They're not straight. They may not be round anymore, but they get it down the road. This is the third set of tires I've had on these rims. There you can see my exhaust peeking out. That's a Jegs kit. That's got kind of the would it be the Monte Carlo tips where it comes out the back. I'd like to get some customs bent and come out the side. I'll probably do that if and when I add an H-pipe. I'd like to do an H-pipe to kind of balance everything out. Trunk is boring. It's got the compact spare, a little sub box underneath the back valance. It's got 6x9s back there. Original chrome on the bumpers, original taillights. I have an extra set because of this angle. This is a 1 year only taillight. Brake lights in the middle, angled. The fender extensions are unique. I've got a set of those. I've got a set of that. So worst case is something happens, I've got backups. Everything else kind of crosses over from year to year to year to year. Of course, the interiors were different throughout that time. Front end is unique too, in that grill is a 1 year only. They make repops now. I had mine knocked out probably about 95, 96, and it was kind of heck going around the junkyards trying to find a new one. That's the second or third one. It's not perfect, but all the pieces are there, so it works. I've got a lead. I was supposed to get it this summer, but I didn't. There's a wrecker in the area that has a Malibu wagon, 78, that has a nice header panel front clip, and he said I could come and take that, buy the front header panel, because this one does have some damage in behind. So, but the car's been repainted at a tech school way before I got it. I've just been buffing on it and filling in scratches and holes over time. Future plans for that, I may just get it to where I can and then throw some plasti dip on it. Maybe I'll do a Lucky Costa Malibu tribute and flat black the hood and kind of primer red the rest, and you know, go with that. Got to have a theme, right? Obviously needs some tint on the windows. Obviously needs a little bit of stance. I mean, this is North Dakota, but you know, it doesn't mean your cars need to look like they're four-wheel drive when they're sitting still. The 14s don't help. They're a little small. Always an odds and ends, but this has been the one keeper. This has been the one thing that's just kept my hands in the grease over all these years, from being into computers, being into insurance, working at a parts window at a Chrysler dealership, which was awesome because it was at a Chrysler dealership, so you knew you were always busy because they always break. So that was sweet. That lasted for a little while. The bulk of what I've been doing is, I don't know, some people, I've been kind of the local or a local meat butcher, not meat butcher, wood butcher in town, just fixing people's stuff. I guess the general thing is just fixing things, you know, building things, fixing things. So that's kind of what jumped me into the next thing, which is kind of leaving this for a little bit probably and jumping off onto some C10s. But this is about the car. But like I said, this is what's kept me going. This car saw Tony's when Grandpa was still alive. It saw Tony's when Stan had it. It'll see Tony's again, I'm sure. I'd like to take it down there and get down there and kind of have some fun. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, this is the Malibu. This is the 78. It's kind of a what you see is what you get car. Nothing too fancy. We're still carbureted. We're still running on 14s. Stock brakes. I did some autocrossing last year once. Yeah, it was pretty slow, but 229 gears in the rear. But I've got, you know, let's see it up there. Yeah, maybe some 311s in that posi box there. I also have a full front suspension rebuild to do. So it's kind of, yeah, there's stuff to do. This thing needs to be up on jack stands for a while. It needs to get some, at least some drop springs, if not some spindles too. Rebuild the front end, rebuild the back end, box in. I've got a sway bar. Where's it at? Is it over there still? Yep. Sway bar in the corner. Because again, this was not a performance package. This is a full-on Smog, 165 horse, 305 pavement killer with 229 gears. So once it moves, it's okay, but sometimes it takes a while to get there. So yeah, this is the Boo. A little bit about the journey that we've taken, and my wife has actually let me keep it. So you know, the wife that lets you keep the car is definitely a keeper herself, so that's kind of cool. But you have to behave yourself. So okay, well, we will talk to you later. Bye.